A little bit more about me. So I'm the first person, then my sister's the second, then my brother, and then my mom. So the reason why I share this picture is because my sister and I, we look like twins, but we're actually not twins. We're quite opposite of each other. Like if you ask her a question, she'll spend like half an hour answering your question. I, on the other hand, will spend probably 3 to 5 words. So that kind of gets into the communication. So the best way to communicate with me is through email 24, and I will respond within 24 to 48 hours. I get a lot of emails, so sometimes your email may go towards the bottom and I may miss it by accident. I don't do it on purpose. If I don't respond within 24 to 48 hours, please just forward the email to me again and it will go back to the top of my email list. If it's something urgent, like you're taking an exam and your laptop dies on you, when that happens, please text me rather than emailing me. Both my email and my cell phone number is listed in the syllabus. So I introduced this picture because one of the comments that, and I do read the evaluations and I try to improve the course based on the evaluations, but one of the comments was that I provide very short replies and they weren't sure whether I was being short with them or annoyed or such. And I promise you I'm not. That's just how I communicate. So I'm very short in my replies, and that's with everybody, with like my mom, my sister. That's just how my brain works. Okay, so please do not feel insulted. If you ask a yes or no question, I respond with a yes or no. Okay. But do know that I am here for you. So always email me if you have any questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Okay. So just email me or text me, depending on the urgency of it, and I will get back to you. Okay. If it's even the smallest thing, like you have to, it's it's Sunday and you have to take the quiz, but you were really sick, send me an email. Okay. If it's within the reasonable accommodations, then I can extend it for you. But I can only do that if I know right away when things happen. If you wait a week later and you tell me, oh, I missed this quiz last week and I was sick though, can I retake it? The answer is going to be absolutely no. So it's really important for you to communicate with me early and frequently. Okay, so just know that I am here for you. Okay. So my tips for this class is to form study groups. Of the 25 years I've taught at St. Kate's, every time students form a really good relationship with each other and form study group, and the group isn't just for studying, but it's also for support. Because you heard, that anatomy and physiology is one of the most difficult courses in this program. You need the support from your fellow classmates for both academic and also moral support. Sometimes just hearing another student say, oh my God, that was really hard, but you can do this, helps a lot more than, that's the sternocleidomastoid. Okay. So one of the biggest tips I have for you, if you can manage it, even though it's online, I have had online groups form study groups. Okay. Rewrite your notes. That's the kind of the first place I would start, is rewriting your notes, because it's a lot of content. So by rewriting your notes, you're more likely to remember things, at least until you find how you learn best. Okay. Expose yourself to A&P early and frequently. Sometimes students wait until Friday to study, and then they have Saturday, Sunday to take the quiz and to comprehend everything before the next week material come by. Okay, that's not enough time. You need to start studying early, because you may not study in between, but the fact that you put the information there allows your brain to continuously process it throughout that entire week. So the earlier you start, the better you will be. Okay, because it does allow your brain to process the materials. Okay, the announcements page. Something I always forget to say is that the announcements page, students think that it's not important materials, but it's highly recommended. Okay, I will send out announcements, notifications every week in the announcements page, and it's very detailed. It tells you like what you should study. Here are the supplemental materials. I call them supplemental, but they're not really supplemental, in that I create these for this class specifically. So it would be to your advantage to kind of go through that in addition to your regular materials on Canvas. Okay, questions so far?
This is Melissa. I did have a question.
Okay.
So was looking at the materials that are provided for us. I did look at our book. It says that I have the option to opt out after a certain time frame. Can you go over that if you're able to?
Yeah, of course. So let me pull that up. So if you go to course materials right here, okay. So under course materials, you're going to find the IA. So that's where your textbook is. If you did not purchase your textbook, you have access to the textbook here. It does charge you though onto your student account. I think the last I saw it was like $45 to $50. If you bought the book, the hard copy of the book, you can opt out of this and not pay for it. So there should have been an email that was sent to you as to how you opt out. And when you have the textbook already, like a physical copy of the textbook, and you choose not to participate in this program, you can opt out. This page will disappear and you will not be charged the $45 to $50 for the textbook, the ebook version of the textbook. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yep. But if you choose to participate in this program, then this is where you would find the textbook. Okay. All right. Any
I have
other
a question
questions?
about the book.
Yeah. Yes, Miss Casey. Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Hi. How did you, because I can access the module and the course materials on my phone Canvas app, but when I look on my laptop, I don't have any of that information under course materials that you have on your screen. Is there something that I'm doing wrong? I have it for my other classes. Like some of my classes are missing modules on my laptop, but I can get them on my phone. Is there something I'm doing wrong?
That's weird because usually you can access everything on your laptop. The phone has an
Yeah, I know.
abbreviate. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I've tried to like change the settings on Canvas on my MacBook. I've tried a different server. I've done everything, and I can't get it. Sorry, I can't get it on my computer.
Okay. That is an IT question. So, and
Okay.
I think one of the students said that the IT doesn't bring them to the correct link. So let me figure out what the correct link is now because they change it every term, and then I will provide that
Okay.
link. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
So
then
that's
and then one
beyond my knowledge. Yes. Go ahead, Casey.
Okay. And then one more question about the book. I said, I got it on my phone. If I think I opted in. I was in the middle of doing it when this meeting started. Can I opt out of it? Because
Yes.
I will be getting the hard. Okay. So even if
Yep.
I opted in, I can still opt out of it by the date.
Yes.
I think
Exactly.
it's May 19th or something. Okay.
That's correct. Yep. Yep. So I think you have a few more days to opt out. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. All right. So syllabus, syllabus,
I'm sorry,
syllabus.
Professor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I just want to know, what if what if you didn't get the can't get the book on time? Will they give you enough time to get the book? Or
So the IA, the textbook on Canvas, you can use it until the opt-out date.
okay.
So hopefully between that time and when you get your book, you'll get your book by then, and then you can opt out.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. But if
And
you are expecting not to get your book for like weeks, then that that might be problematic.
okay,
Yep.
so if I can if what if I can like get the book from, like, let's say if I get it from the library, just for example,
Mhm.
and so I can use that instead of ordering the book from you guys from the
Yep. So you can rent it from, you can borrow it from the library. So if the library has it, you can definitely, as long as you have a textbook, you
Okay.
have the textbook that's required, then you should be fine.
Okay. All
Yep.
right.
Yep.
I have a question. So if I don't want to opt out of it, I don't have to do anything.
Nope, that's right.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. And then syllabus, syllabus, syllabus. So read the syllabus you must. So the syllabus has a lot of information on there, particularly the policies and the information about everything in this class. So take some time, read through the syllabus, highlight things, make sure that important dates get into your calendar because time management is super key for this class. It technically is 2 classes, right? Because you're taking the lecture and the lab, and it's 2 distinct content. I mean, they relate to each other, but you're going to have to study for both of them. Okay? And that's what makes this class so hard is it's a lot of content and it's like it's in a different language. Okay, like how often do you hear sternocleidomastoids, right? So think of it that way in terms of difficulty. So that does get to how much time should you set aside for this class. So make a guess. How much time are you expecting to set aside for this class?
Like 12 hours a week.
12 hours? Yep.
I would say maybe 20 to
I
25.
say a lot.
Say a lot. I would agree with all of you. So this answer depends on your prior knowledge. A lot of you come with a lot of anatomy physiology knowledge already. Some of you don't come with as much science experience as others. So depending on your science experience or just how you've been able, how you are able to process the information from this course, that's what you should do. So the rule of thumb is for every credit, it's 2 hours of study. So this class is 4 credits, even though technically the lab is another 2. So that's 6 credits. So 6 times 2 is 12, and that's the minimum. So the minimum that you should set aside for this course is 12 hours. And then, of course, it's going to go up and up and up, depending how much background you have in science, how long ago you've taken that science course, okay? So, but for sure, set aside at least, and I do mean at least 12 hours. Okay. Let's see, what else? In terms of content, there are 4 main units. The first unit is going to cover intro, chem, cells, tissue, and integumentary or the skin. Now, the first unit tends to be more basic content. So it's foundational knowledge that you build the body systems on top of. This is the best time to get that A. If you start this course really strong, then you're going to just like cruise through the rest of the course. But if you start this course with unit 1 really weak, it's going to be really hard to pull that grade back up. Okay? So that's why for this very first unit, give me your 150% of your effort and your time. Because if you start with an A, then you've got, a lot of room to kind of wiggle around as you get to the more difficult content. Units 3 and 4 tend to be the most 2 and 3 tend to be the most difficult because it's very, very detailed. Okay? So that's why start strong so that when you get to the more difficult units, you can cruise through it a little bit easier. Right? Some resources that you have for this course will be the navigational materials on Canvas. So Canvas is always going to present you with the lecture, the lab, and then the navigational materials. So the navigational materials are additional resources. But honestly, between the navigational materials and the materials that I put onto the announcements page, go to the announcements page first. Use that material first. Okay? There's lots of supplemental course videos, lots of worksheets. Now the worksheets, I've made a worksheet for every chapter that you have to know for this course. Only 4 of those worksheets are part of your required assignments. Does that mean you only do 4? What do you think?
No.
Yeah, thank you. You do 4 for the points, but you do all of them so that you can do really well in your exam. Okay, so even though only 4 of all of the worksheets I give you are required for you to submit back to me for grading, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do all of the worksheets. Okay, now there's a lot of external resources. like Khan's Academy, Amoeba Sisters, as well as Complete Anatomy, and others that you may find. If you find any that is particularly useful for you, let me know, and I'll put them on a list to be shared with the rest of the class. Okay? Questions?
Yeah, with the worksheets, are we able to print them and like do them that way and then upload them, or do they have to be like on the template?
No, ma'am, you actually have to download them and then work on them and then upload them. Because if you work on the template, then everyone works on the same template, right? And that would be really messy. So
Okay.
I don't let anyone edit the template. You have to download it, edit it yourself, and then upload it.
But I can print it and like handwrite it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. You can print it and then write it in. And actually, I'm old school, so I learn best by writing it out by hand. So that's what I would do if I were a student rather than typing it up. Okay. Typing up is nice because then you can also take images and then you can plop them in. For some reason, my brain works. I learn best when I'm tactile, so I have to write out from my brain to remember things. Okay. Any other questions?
I'm good, thank you.
Yep. All right. So what are you graded on? Okay, so this is the grading scale. For the lecture, you have the assignments. You have 11 total that you submit. I grade all of them, but I drop your lowest. And the reason for this is because if you miss one, let's say, or you did all 10 of them and you have one left to do, but you got a perfect score on all the other 10, you don't even have to do the 11th one. The 11th one is like a in case of emergency. So if you were really sick on week 2 and you couldn't do that assignment, I just drop it. You don't even have to sweat it. Okay. So there's 11 assignments, but of which I dropped the lowest one. So that's why I usually don't allow students to submit things late. Okay. So submit it on time. And then if something happens and you can't do one, it's not going to affect your grade at all because I do drop your lowest grade. Okay. Or your non-attempt. Lecture quizzes, you have 11 as well. And guess what? The lowest one is dropped, and it's dropped automatically on Canvas. I don't press any buttons. It just automatically does it. Okay. Your exam 1, 2, and 3 are worth 10% of your grade. Your final exam, think of it as 2 exams. The 4th exam and a comprehensive exam is worth 20% of your grade. Okay. So your lecture materials, this is how it's divided. Where for your lab, you have 11 lab quizzes as well. Your lowest one is dropped. You have lab exam 1, 2, and 3. They're worth 5% of your grade. And then your final exam, which is also, like, think of it as exam 4 in a comprehensive portion, is worth 10% of your grade. So really, of the two, lecture and lab, lecture, it weighs a lot more than lab. Okay. Questions?
This is probably a dumb question, but is the lab like one grade and then the lecture another, or is it just one big grade?
One big grade.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. So my grading policy, grades will be posted within 1 week of the deadline. So please, if you just took your exam, I know you're anxious. I've been a student. I'm still a student in some ways. Please don't email me, a day right after your exam. Can I know what I get? Give me 1 week. Okay. I do really try to get your grades out to you well before that 1 week. Usually I try to get it within 1 to 2 days of the deadline. But before you email me, give me 1 week. Okay. And then once I do release your grade, you absolutely should look over it and ask me if you have any questions. I will not be insulted. You can question because sometimes I make mistakes. Sometimes the computer grades incorrectly. Okay. So if you see something that you believe, that you are right, just ask me or let me know, and then we'll look through it together. Okay.
I'm sorry, I do have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
For the exams, I remember you putting on there whenever we're having to study for it, you said to pull questions of what we think you would put in there, not too easy or not too hard. And that's what we would be studying for the exams. Do you recommend like pulling the questions? Like, will we be able to go over the quizzes that we've taken and pull those questions and kind of study those for the exam?
Anytime. You have access to your quizzes anytime.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Yep. You still have to use Respondus Lockdown to view them, but you should be able to see any of your quizzes anytime. Yep. For assignments, you have the critical skills assignment and the video assignments. There are 7 critical skills assignment and 4 video assignments throughout this course. It combines to make 11, and like I said, I do drop 1, and together they do make up 10% of your grade. Now here's the thing, I will put a comment, but not everyone reads my feedback on your assignments, but you can always revise and resubmit them for a regrade. Okay, so if you got like an 8, go into your assignment, read my comments as to why you lost the 2 points, fix it, upload it, reload it again, and then I will regrade them. It will not be right away because I'll be busy grading the new materials, but eventually I will get back to them and regrade your old stuff that you revised. Okay, this option right here is only for the assignments. Okay. Because the point of the assignments is for you to learn, right? So if you made a mistake, I want to give you another chance to revise it and to learn from your mistakes, okay? So here is a list of all the assignments. Assignment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to these 2 extra credits down here, okay? And I'll talk about the extra credit in a little bit. For now, though, your assignments, a lot of students think it's busy work, but it truly isn't. This is something that you would be doing if you were studying anyways. I will let you know that the typical science course don't include this. They just assume that you will do it. And all of the points are towards your exams, okay? So we put these assignments in because we know that not all students know to do these assignments, and that's how they improve their studying. And 2, we give you these assignments not for busy work, but so that we can remove a lot of the burden off of your exams. So instead of your exams being 100% of your grade, now it's only 80% of your grade because 10% of your grade is going towards assignments. And these assignments are easy if you put in the time. Okay, so view these assignments as a way to kind of be a bonus, easy grades. Okay, and it promotes correct studying. Okay, it's going to teach you academic skills, especially for those of you who haven't gone to, haven't been to college for a very long time. It's going to help you work through your time management, cognitive mapping. Cognitive mapping research has strongly shown to improve learning and memorization. And then, of course, preparing for exams. Content, the second set of assignments are about content with cognitive mapping. So those are your worksheets. So all of the worksheets help you to go through the content in a way that utilizes cognitive mapping. Like I have you do a lot of tables. I have you do a lot of imaging, labeling, things that connect cognitive mapping with visuals and not just like paragraphs and paragraphs of knowledge, okay? The third type of assignments you have are video assignments, and these are fun, okay? They're supposed to be fun. Students say that by having to present the materials, it makes them have to learn it better because these are the videos that you're making on this content, so you are the expert in it. And plus, when you do it, sometimes the way that you present it helps your peers learn better than watching a video from me, for example, okay? 2, it allows them to have fun and be creative. Like one year I had a musician and they made a song on how to remember all of the joint movements. It allows you to involve your family member in the learning. So oftentimes when you're doing videos, I have students bring in their children to do like the demoing of the movements or to help explain, okay? Now, the video discussions, I don't grade them. I'm sorry, I grade them, but pretty much by whether you've done them or not, okay? The feedback comes from each other, your peers. So I know we have this in Minnesota, at least we have a term called Minnesota nice, where like if you criticize something, you're not being nice. This is the opposite. This is your chance to help correct any misconceptions that your peers have. Discuss it amongst yourself. Say, oh, I think your definition of mitochondria isn't correct. If you look at the notes, it actually says that it's the site of ATP synthesis instead of being where protein is formed. Okay, so this is purely a platform for peer-to-peer interaction as well as the TAs. The TAs will provide feedback as well. I just go in and say, okay, they did the video, they have the audio, they have the visual, 10 out of 10. Okay.
Do we have to cite anything in those videos, like?
So that's a great question. So here's the video grading rubric. Okay.
Oh.
Yep. So you don't have to cite. Okay, so it's not about citation. It's more of presenting in a way that you understand and hopefully helps others understand that concept. Okay, so always begin your video with your name, the date, and topic, which means that if you've done videos before of this nature, you can't reuse them. You have to, do a new one for this class. The content is worth 4 points. So did you follow the content that I posed? You have to narrate it. You have to actually speak. It can't be music. Music is wonderful as a background, but I need you to actually talk it through because that's how you learn. Okay, so it has to have an audio, so that's worth 2 points. It has to have a visual, and most students lose the points right here. They take images that they found online in the textbook or not created by them. So your visual has to be created by you, but because you learn best when you have to draw things out and label them, or you learn best when you have to think of ways to create models of them. And there's some really creative things. Like one year, a student made a fruit cell. They took a melon and they cut out the center and put an apple in there that represented the nucleus. I mean, they went creative. And guess what? Their family ate it afterwards. So that's what the visual is. It has to be created by you. So that's 2 points. And that's where students lose the points most often, is because they just take an image off the online. Okay. And you have to watch and provide feedback on 2 of your peers. That's worth 2 points. Okay. When you provide feedback on your peers, don't just say great job. That's not helping them, right? Provide feedback that will help them improve. Like, for example, if they didn't define this fully, or if they didn't define it correctly, help them. Okay. It will no way impact their grade. Okay. They're going to get the 2 points regardless of what you say. So what you say is meant to help them. Okay. All right. So that's 10 points total. So you do not have to cite. You just need to have the content, the audio, the visual, and then provide 2 peer feedbacks. Right? So really, I view the video assignment as a platform for you to interact with your peers. Okay. So in terms of recording the video, you can either record it on your device, like a camera, a cell phone, and then upload it to YouTube. So I will take the output as either a YouTube link video, or you can directly post it using the Canvas recording webcam. Okay. And it looks like this. So under discussions, if you click on reply and you prepare to create your own video, if you go to this symbol right here, that means that your laptop is through Canvas is going to record you. Okay, so you can hold up your drawing, you can hold up your model, you can point to things, record it, and then upload it. Okay, I will not accept anything that you've done that you either have not put through YouTube or record it through your Canvas, because here's the reason why. In the past, when students do that, it gets less views from your peers, because in order for your peer to see it, they have to download it onto their laptop and then open it. And not all people have that extension or that code to be able to open that video. So the easiest way for people to view your video is to either have it as a YouTube or directly through Canvas recording like this. Okay. All right. Questions on the video assignment? All right. Then you have the quizzes. Expect to have a quiz every week. I shouldn't get any emails that says, I didn't know we have a quiz this week, because I will reply to you, we have a quiz every week. Okay. And we try to be as consistent as possible, because that's one of the key things to make an online class as easy for students as possible. It's consistency. You have a quiz every week. You have 2 quizzes every week, as a matter of fact, one for lecture and one for lab. Every week. Okay? Every week you will have a lecture and a lab quiz, except for when you have exams, because you'll know, because you'll be stressed with the exam. Okay? The quizzes are always due by, not starting by. They need to be submitted by 11 p.m. Central Standard Time on Sundays. What does that mean if you live in California?
12 p.m.
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. And if you live in Virginia?
12 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am. That's right. Okay. It does not, so they all require Respondus Lockdown Browser. It does not require webcam. If it does, then just go with it. Okay. It's recommended, but it should be optional. But sometimes even though I put it as a setting, it doesn't always work. It shouldn't require a password, but if it does, the password is always going to be anatomy, all lowercase anatomy. Okay. Lecture quizzes are on the current week's lecture. 10 multiple choice questions. Lab quizzes are always on the current lab module. 10 write-in identification. You always have to type in the answer for the lab. There's no multiple choice on labs. Okay. Every quiz, you have 2 attempts. They're not the same questions. They may or may not. I don't know. It's randomized. Okay. So your quizzes are always randomized, but you do have 2 attempts on both the lab and the lecture quizzes. That is something new that we've done based on student feedback. Okay. And overwhelmingly, students have appreciated that. So it's to your advantage to take it twice. Okay. Take it once, one maybe on Friday, figure out why you got things wrong. And then you can't, so when you take it the first time, you can see the score, but you can't see the quiz itself. Okay. But you can see the score. Then when you take it a second time, you can see the score as well, but you can only see the questions once I've graded them and released them. Okay. But at least you'll have 2 attempts. So if you scored low on the first attempt, go back and study everything. That's kind of that's what we want you to do. We want you to keep studying until you get them right. Okay. There is, because
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Can you so Respondus has a password? Is that what you were saying? Okay.
Yeah, it shouldn't require a password, but if it does, it's always going to be anatomy.
Okay, and you said all lowercase?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
All right, thank you.
But it should not require a password. I changed this. So when I first created this course 15 years ago, it had a password, but we've since removed it. But sometimes it gets triggered back to the original setting. Okay. So it shouldn't require it, but if it does, it's anatomy. Because you have a full week to take this quiz, from Monday to Sunday, there is absolutely no makeup or retakes unless there's extenuating circumstances. Like you're sick, you have a death in the family, something happens that, I don't know, it's by case, in which, so if anything does happen and you don't know whether it's acceptable, just contact me. I'll be like, no, I'm sorry, that's not acceptable. Or yes, we can do something about it. But you have nothing to lose by asking me. Do you see what I'm saying? Always ask me. The worst is the default, which is a no, right? So just ask me. Okay.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Quick question, real quick. I'm so sorry.
No,
What
don't be
part is
sorry.
optional?
The webcam.
The webcam. Okay, that's what I was thinking, but I got sidetracked for a second, and then I was like, wait, I missed that part. Okay, so we don't have, it's the webcam, you either turn it on or you don't.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's a great question, because I do recommend that you turn it on, because that's going to prepare you for the exams. In the exams, webcams are not optional, they are required.
Okay, so when we turn on our webcam, that's just facing us. Are we showing, like, I've been in some classes before where we like show the room, we do different things like that. So are we doing that in this class as well?
Only for the exams.
Only for the exams, we'll show, like, you know, the room is empty, yada yada yada, and
Yep.
all that.
Yep, that's a
Okay,
great question.
sounds great.
Yep, I'll show you an example of what one looks like. Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep. Okay, so there is a practice quiz that's always open. It doesn't penalize you in any way, and you can take it as many times as you want. That practice quiz just makes sure that your computer is compatible and you can do the quizzes and the exams. Okay. So use that practice quiz just to make sure that the settings are all correct and you know, it's a go. All right. Use the quizzes as a learning tool. Please review them after I release the grades. Always review them. Okay. Oftentimes students go, oh, I got an 8. Okay, fine. But never look back at the questions. You should see which ones you got wrong. Because if you got it wrong, maybe it's not in your notes, which means you have to fix that. Or maybe you wrote it wrong in your notes, or maybe you didn't understand it. But figure out now on the weekly basis when you have the quizzes, so that when you get to the exam, you won't have that same problem again. Okay, so I'll tell you a story. So one time, a student, not one time, this happens pretty often. Students wrote the answers incorrectly. Okay, and I made the comment, right? So you got this question wrong because your spelling was wrong. They never checked the comment, and so they repeated that mistake over and over on the exam and then on the final exam. That's 2 points that they lost. Okay, so that's why it's always a good idea to review all your quizzes, all your assignments, read the feedback, and learn from them. Okay. All right. Exam.
I have a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions actually. So if you take the quiz twice, do you take the highest score? Like, let's say you didn't do well on the first one, so you took it a second time, and then you didn't do well. You did even worse on the second time. Do you take the second score? Do you take the
Perfect
better of
question.
the
I
2?
take the highest score.
Okay.
Yep. And I will grade the highest score as well. So,
Okay.
so let's say you got a 8 out of 10 on the first quiz, and on the second quiz, usually students do better, like a 9 out of 10. I'll grade the 9 out of 10. So if it's a spelling error, but you guessed it right, then spelling errors are only 0.5 points off instead of losing the whole question. So then you'll get 9.5 out of that quiz.
Okay.
Yep. I do not grade both quizzes though. I grade the highest quiz only.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I had a question about the Respondus. I tried to do the practice quiz with it, and it said I had to close all of my tabs
That's right.
before it would work. And I'm kind of crazy, and I have like a lot of tabs open so that I don't lose information. Like I have a tab on like how to cite resources, and I don't want to lose, like I don't want to go find it again. Is there a way to like block out everything and use the Respondus, or open it on a different browser?
Nope.
Or
Unfortunately
no?
not. So what you can do is that you can bookmark. So if you have like websites that you really are important to you, what you can do is that you can bookmark it so that you can click on it. It will always go back to that exact page.
Okay.
So that's one way of doing it. But the Respondus lockdown is, you know, making sure that students aren't looking at like typing
Of
in
course. Yeah.
answers and such. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. All right. For the exams, okay? So here are your 4 lecture exams, and you can look up your lab exam as well, but you can see that it always will tell you when it's available, when it's due by. So do not, please do not text me, I didn't realize it was an exam. There's no reason for that, right? Because the very first thing you're doing this week is to make sure that all these dates go onto your calendar, right? So I had in the past, I've had students who emailed me 3 days after the final exam. They didn't realize they missed the final exam. I can't do anything about that because not only is it in your calendar, not only is it on the syllabus, it is also emailed to you and also discussed during the review sessions. I can't do anything about that. Okay? So make sure these things do not take you by surprise, these dates. Okay? Because that's not in any way a valid reason. Okay? Because all these dates are set at the very beginning of this class, right? So there's no surprises. These dates do not change. Okay? All right. So for quizzes and exams, you may not use any resources. No internet, no textbook, no notes, no phones. Okay. 1 year I had a student take an exam and actually go like this. Okay. I'm old school, but even I'm pretty aware of all the AI stuff. I know that you can take pictures of questions and the AI will tell you the answer. And that's why we require no cell phones near you. Okay. And that's why it's recorded. Okay. I've had some years where the cell phone is on the lap. And you know what? Respondents can see a glare, will record a glare on your face. Okay. I've had 1 year where students say, you didn't catch me cheating on there. I may not have seen you, do it, but the fact that you did not do your environmental scan is in itself already eliminates you from having this exam graded. Okay, so that's why in the syllabus right here, I say response lockdown browser with monitoring is required when taking all of the exams in this course. A thorough environmental scan is required for exams to be graded. If you click on this link, it will walk you through. Let's open up this link. Copy link. Go here. Let's go here. Let's go here. Okay. Questions? All right. Make sure that
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I have a quick question. Are we still on the grading slide, or are we? I'm just making sure my screen's working properly because Are we still on the grading slide
Yes.
talking about that? Okay.
Yep. And then contact me immediately for help if you encounter technical difficulties. Okay. When we get closer to the exam dates, I'll walk you through like my suggestions as to how to take the exam. Okay. All right, but that's kind of a brief. And then finally, I get this question every time. Is there extra credit? Yes, there is. There are 2 extra credit. One is the community building extra credit. And with that one, I encourage you to form study groups so much that I will give you extra credit for doing it. So if you meet with me, a TA, or as a study group, and here are the things you'll need to do. You need to write up 3 muddiest point questions. During the session, ask your questions, and after the session, write the responses to the question and then email it to me. If you met with your groups, your study group, also you'll need a proof of the meeting. So a screenshot of your Zoom or Google Meet session and then email it to me. So if you do this 5 times in the term, you get 10 points. And 10 points is the equivalent of 1 quiz, 1 lecture quiz, or 2 lab quizzes, essentially. Okay, so
I have
that,
a question.
yeah, go ahead.
So on that, with the meeting with the group or the TA, do we have to meet with the group to get the points? And will all this information, because you kind of spoke really fast, or it was quick to me on what we needed to do, I couldn't write it down. The TA is part of that too? We just can talk to the TA, or do we have to have a group?
Either. So you can either meet with me, a TA, or a study group. And you can do it up to 5 times. Each time you get 2 points. And I will be emailing, along with the recording, you'll have the email of these sets of slides, as well as on Canvas. If you go to assignments, go to the community building extra credit. It also is written out there for you. Can everyone see the community building extra credit screen?
Yes.
Okay. So
I just see a YouTube video.
Yep. So the session will be recorded as well. Yeah.
No, I just say on the screen. Are we looking for something? Because I just see a different screen with the YouTube video. Are we looking at something else on the Canvas?
Yes. So you should be able to see a screen that says community building extra credit.
Nope, I don't see that.
Oh, so I think maybe your internet session might be lagged a little bit if you're still seeing the video. Anyone else see the video, or do you see the community building extra credit?
I see extra credit.
Okay.
Extra credit.
All right. So your internet might be lagging a little bit. All right. What else? Then the other extra credit is in the inequities in science assignment. I want to be able to build. So whenever we think of science, we always think that it's objective. There's no, personal things about it, but it actually is. Like a lot of the healthcare requirements are based on studies that were done on predominant cultures rather than every culture. So we want to make sure that we do uncover all of those things. But unfortunately, because I'm already making you know so much each week, that I'm still working on how to infuse that throughout the course. So in the meantime, I've made this extra credit for you to be able to see that even though science, says it's very objective, it's not. And you can research it by looking at the inequities in science. Okay. And it could be inequities in income. Like, for example, we know that people that make higher income, they tend to have better health care because they could afford it, right? Or cars tend to be made more for male body structures than female body structures, like the seatbelt. The seatbelt actually is made more to protect male larger body structures than female. So there's lots of different inequities that you can choose to show you that science is not objective. Okay. Do you need accommodations? If you qualify for the student accommodations, you should contact them. And only when they contact me can I give you the extended whatever service you qualify for. Okay. If you have any questions, always contact them and they will let you know. Okay. Then for the course, a couple cool things with the course. So when you go to Canvas, you can actually set the notifications by going to accounts and then notifications, so that if I post anything or anything happens on the course, you can either be emailed, or this is what I recommend, you get text. So for example, if there's any changes, you'll get a text. Your professor just released these scores. Okay. So I highly recommend doing that. Let's see. So the course layout, you can kind of figure this as you go through the course. There's the home page with the assignments and the deadlines. There's the syllabus that you have to make sure you go through very thoroughly. And then there's the announcements page. Okay, so make sure you go through the announcements page, because it does have weekly course announcements with the supplemental links. And then during your exam week, it will also have study guides. I think that's the main thing. In terms of recommended weekly schedule, because remember we said that you need at least 12 hours as a minimum. Break it down into parts of the week. So Monday and Tuesdays, put aside like 2 to 4 hours. Start by printing or downloading the video PDFs, the scripts. One thing people don't realize, because when I was in grad school, I had no time. So all of the reading that I had to do, there's a Speechify app that will read it for you as you're driving, for example, or if you're waiting in line. So instead of reading it, I can actually have it read to me, so I can listen to it while I'm doing other things. Okay. There's a lot of things you can do that, now with the technology to help you improve on accessing the materials. Okay. Then on Wednesday, Thursday, you should be studying by rewriting your notes, editing your notes using scripts and images, completing your assignment. Assignments are always due on Fridays by 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. Then Friday should be a day where you're just studying, you're just reviewing, you're making flashcards, you're listening to the video again to see if it makes more sense. You're doing the worksheets, you're doing cognitive maps, and then Saturday, Sundays when you take your quizzes. All right, so I will take any questions any of you have.